for, if that's
Okay.
all right. First of all, I just want to ask, how much does your system or scheme, or however you want to put it, change with Marcel now being the quarterback instead of, Connor last year?
Yeah, no, I think every year it's going to adapt and take a little bit of its own identity, based on the pieces and how they fit together and their strengths and weaknesses and how they're playing. I think that's definitely the case, moving forward with Marcel. But I think, I think there's going to be a lot of components that are, that are vitalized and are able to increase their effectiveness and efficiency by some of the things that he brings and does, especially throwing the football. I think across the board, I think we're going to be a lot more, have a better platform under him in a lot of areas to be able to do what we want to do.
When you have your O-line healthy, what are reasonable expectations from you for those guys as a unit?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of our mentality right now is truly getting better. I think I've been very, very pleased through the very first part of spring here of our practice mentality. I think we're a much more mature team in how we attack the practice field, how much we strain and finish, and how hard we play snap in and snap out through the entirety of the practice, which I think those guys are leading the charge in that area, and I think that's going to pay big dividends as we kind of stack these days on top of one another. I think for us right now too, we've been working a lot of different combinations. We got a lot of guys coming back at some positions, but at the same time, we've really in an effort to try to develop depth, better, deeper understanding of everything that we're doing. Create some competition at a lot of those spots because we have so many guys that can play. I think all of those things have been extremely positive through the spring.
We'll go second row on the left side to Alex and then Tony.
Yeah, Marcel had talked about how he's trying to gain some weight this offseason. Is there a weight that you guys are aiming for him to be at, and just how have you seen the process of him trying to do that go this offseason?
Well, that sucker's had a box in every meeting I've been in. I mean, he's been pounding the calories. He's done a heck of a job, and our staff's done a heck of a job. But whatever's healthy, I don't know if there's an exact line that anyone's saying like has to be 190, 195, whatever it happens to be. But I think as long as he keeps making strides in the right direction, which he has. I think his body composition even looks better. I mean, you look at his lower half and how he's moving around and still even moving around better and being more explosive and strength numbers in the weight room. Like, as long as all that keeps moving forward, then, we'll kind of find out where that healthy line is.
We'll stay on that second row to Tony and then Travis.
Obviously, you guys had a lot of playmaker pieces, out wide, tight end, stuff like that. I know it's early. Ask Coach Bateman the same thing, but who has kind of stood out early first impressions that's kind of look good for you?
Yeah, no, I think starting on the edge, I think Mario Craver from a speed component has already visibly been different for us. I think he and Ashton Bethel Roman. Ashton's not new to the program, but obviously another year developed. I mean, both of those guys bring a home run speed component that has been really, really good for us. KC has been phenomenal. I mean, we've moved him all over the place. He's playing all over the field, making plays, one of the best competitors I've been around at the receiver position, so really, really excited about him. I think you move into tight end. I think the combination of Theo continuing to develop. I mean, Theo kept getting better and better and better through the course of last season, continuing to do so. And then him and Nate Borkature have really, really done a nice job kind of in that Y swing F position. And then Amari Niblack has been outstanding and really provides a lot of versatility, from a pass catching standpoint, moving standpoint. So really excited about those pieces, but more than anything, I've been proud of all of them, of just how hard they've worked, how they bought into our team concept, and how we're trying to bring everything together and done a heck of a job.
We'll go second row on the right side to Travis and then Mark.
Is there any extra challenges in the amount of wide receivers that y'all had to bring in this year, just kind of getting them all acclimated at the same time?
I think that's a challenge across the board, in just today's landscape. I mean, there's a heavy numbers, and then even, this year I think we have more early enrollees than I've ever experienced, which is awesome, but just a lot of new pieces, a lot of young pieces trying to get, we kind of every year you're starting more towards the ground zero spot of, hey, we're building this year's team right now. There's a challenge in that. There's a challenge in that for them. But again, I think we're fortunate offensively. We got some core components that are really doing a nice job of helping bring those guys along with Marcel and up front O-line and Theo and a lot of those guys. So there's challenges to it, but credit to them, Coach Wiggins and our entire staff. I've been really pleased with how fast they've picked things up and are in big-time contributing roles.
We'll go front row on the left side to Mark and then Carter.
I'm going to pull an Olin. I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
First, now that you have two, going into the second season and you've got some more of, I hate to use the term, your guys, but are there any adjustments that you have decided that kind of were needed for the scheme to fit what you have?
I think probably, I think every year is different, and so we kind of look at it like how do we package this together. I think the first part of that is, I'd say, staying healthy. Fortunately we haven't had anything that's going to affect the fall through the spring and need that to continue. Obviously that affected us last year, and we had a lot of guys stepping up in a lot of different places that made us go. I think initially, even just in 6 practices, probably the thing that I think is the biggest thing that I've seen that'll give us a jump is the overall team speed. And you talk about speed on the edge, you talk about speed at tailback. A couple of our young tailbacks, Tiger Ryden, Jamari Morrow, like those guys can go. And I think that combined with more familiarity with what we're doing, tempo, operational wise, being able to actually attack in what we're doing instead of just, okay, what is my job on this? No, how do I attack through whatever my responsibility is? I think that's shown itself, and I'm really excited about.
Your MO coming in was use the tight end a lot. Obviously, Senate at K-State. But looking at what you got now with Nyblack and Theo and Coyote, do you think that this year we may kind of see a little bit more of the utilization of the tight end in the passing game?
I think we're definitely going to be deeper. I think we're definitely going to be more established at that position than we were a year ago. Excited to see what those guys can do. I think the biggest thing right now from a mentality standpoint is we're trying to build as broad a foundation as we can so that as we move forward and build on it, those fundamentals, communication, operation, all of those things are airtight so that as it starts to take shape and those competition battles work themselves out and playing time works itself out, it'll take more of a shape at that point. But to your point, very, very excited about some of those 2 tight end sets.
We'll go front row on the right side to Carter and then back to TV row.
Colin, you guys had a pretty tall receiver group last year, 6'6" Noah, 6'4" Jade, and kind of a shorter group, but maybe more speed this year. How much does that kind of change what you guys go about doing at that group?
It definitely changes what you can do, and I think it's, I talk about from a quarterback standpoint all the time, the speed and the sequence of plays directly affects his ability to make decisions, and I think our continuity is taking steps forward. Obviously, I think that's quarterback-wise, we're a little more comfortable in our system. But no, I think, there's certain situations and schemes that it changes that, but really, really excited about, again, the timing and sequencing of some of our plays that you're seeing materialize through the course of the spring.
With some of the short yardage stuff we saw late in the year, were the problems there mostly just because you don't have Le'Veon Moss and starting centers out and all these different injuries, or is there anything you pinpointed that maybe was a common denominator?
I think not really. I think there was missteps at a lot of different parts to that. I think there's a couple times that we're clearly at a schematic disadvantage and we didn't give them a chance. There's times where you miss a block here, you miss an assignment here, or a read here, or whatever it happens to be that that we could just never get on the right side of, or it was the one mistake that caused the deal to break, kind of a thing too. So there's all of those factors are factors. I think the biggest thing, and from a mentality and a messaging standpoint from us is we got to finish better. We got to lock in and focus to be able to perform in those critical moments, and every inch freaking matters, and that's on every single snap, and sometimes it's easy to point to the one snap, but you look at what happened maybe even a snap before or 2 snaps before that, and who knows how that then changes the future outcome. And so I think it's a mentality standpoint, starting with us as a staff and all the way down, but we got to execute better and finish the deal better in critical moments, top to bottom.
We'll go back behind the lights on the left side to Tyler, and then Cecil wrap us up.
Colin, what has Jacob Zeno brought to the quarterback room, and do you feel like kind of that veteran presence have you seen it help Marcel at all?
Yeah, no. I first of all, I'm so proud of our room. I think every one of those guys does an incredible job contributing to that room. I know Jacob has seen a lot. He's seen a lot of football, and is just already even a great teammate. And the camaraderie and that those guys have, and he facilitates that and is a big part of that. I think Brady Hart, I've been really, really excited about him and how he even, as an early enrollee and reclass, come in and the moment hasn't been too big for him. He's studied his butt off and put himself in a chance to be operational and compete. And, so all of those guys, Miles O'Neill's made tremendous strides from last year and is playing confident and doing some really, really nice things out there. So really, really excited about the group and the work they've put in. And Jacob's the old hat in there for sure. We got a bunch of other young guys, but really appreciate him a lot.
I also want to ask about Ruben Owens, how you've seen him kind of improve and integrate himself now, back from injury, and how do you feel like once Le'Veon and Amari come back, how those three will kind of mesh?
Yeah, I think he's a lot closer. I think there's flashes of what I know he can be and he knows he can be. I think he's still battling a little bit, but not worried about him at all. He's going to be a big-time difference maker.
We'll go to Cease, front row on the left side, to wrap us up.
Jay talked about the difference between year one and year two. You were at Kansas State so long, and you haven't been in a lot of programs. So I was wondering, the transformation for you last year, was it tougher? Was there some disappointments, and maybe how much more comfortable you are right now?
I just think there's a lot more knowns for sure. You talk about just an organizational process through the year, working for Coach Elko. You talk about continuities and offensive staff. Sometimes it was a really good exercise to make sure that we're communicating things accurately and being on the same page. Sometimes you take that for granted, when you worked at the same place or people for a long time. So I think as a offensive staff, we've been able to make a lot of strides too, just making sure that we're on the same page and knowing what the other needs or is thinking in those times to make us better. I think all that plays a factor. I think just even the being around our guys and our returning players more. I mean, all those inches matter and have made a big difference. But it's been a great journey. I'm excited for where we're going, and things are headed in the right direction.